Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. Ty Hildenbrandt here. Dan Rubenstein over there. solidverbal@gmail.com, as always, is the email. You can find us at solidverbal.com. You can also find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, and most importantly, on iTunes at itunes.com/solidverbal, and on Facebook at facebook.com/solidverbal. Both of those places allow you to give us a star rating or write a review if you are ever so inclined. Mr. Rubenstein, how are you, sir?
You know, Ty, I'm not bad. There are certain things I'd like to make myself believe, and this is big picture, that planet Earth turns slowly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. For me, I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, and I'll tell you why, Ty, because everything is never as it seems.
Are you
know
thinking,
that, and I know that.
Are we previewing Owl City tonight, or where are we headed with this?
Owl City is the best college town in America, sir. So why shouldn't we? It's great to be back. I was in Chicago all weekend. I'm ready. This is part 3, numbers 25 through 18.
Yeah, how about it? 24, excuse me.
24 to 18. Yeah.
24 to 17.
Okay, that makes sense. My math is bad, so it would make sense that you would correct me.
I am excited to talk about these teams tonight because once we start cracking into the presumed top 25, at least by whatever metric we're using,
S&P Plus projected rankings.
Right. Once we get into this tier, this third tier, let's say, of college football teams, this is where we start talking about the real sleepers.
Oh, so my Owl City lyrics actually made sense if you consider these teams sleepers.
Totally.
Nice.
A little bit of weird symmetry there. Yeah.
Unintentional. Good job, Dan.
So I feel like there are some teams that we are about to discuss this evening that could, if things break, be in store for some kind of meteoric rise in the polls, if you will.
So not even sleeper good or really good teams, but sleeper playoff contenders.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I would go that far.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far. You could make that case. I will not be making that case.
Okay,
but you could make that case.
In this list, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams out of the 8 that have either been to the college football playoff, been to a national championship game, had a strong argument to be in a national championship game pre-playoff, and a recent 2-time national championship winner. So I think it would be fair to say that there are factors about a number of these teams or a team that has hung with or beaten national championship contenders consistently these past couple years. So I think there are chunks of these teams that if these chunks grow like the beautiful mold that they are, we could be into November talking about these teams as sleeper playoff teams. That's what I'm saying.
There's also a team in here with a coach that has a mullet now.
Also, there's Mississippi State. There is Mississippi State. Mississippi State was the number one team. They were number one team in the country, but 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a moldy chunk, and I mean that in a positive way about Mississippi State.
Not this year, I don't think. Going to be in that playoff discussion. But certainly a number of teams in this next grouping that we're going to preview that I think are interesting in ways that the others weren't, that we have previously discussed. So I'm excited to get into that.
Perhaps other than TCU, who you're madly in love with.
I am madly, deeply, truly in love with TCU this year. I can't even hold off on it.
Good.
Shall we get into our Tier 3 previews, Dan?
I'd love for nothing more.
I had somebody email me and ask a little bit more about this American Top 40 music. Just like, what possessed you to use that music? I don't really know. I'm kind of excited about it, though. I'm glad I was able to find it on YouTube.
It's the most notable top 40 of anything there is. It's top 40 music. And I used to listen to America's Top 40.
Yeah.
And I loved how seamlessly, I think I listened to when it was Rick Dees. Do you remember Rick Dees?
Sure.
I used to listen to Rick Dees, but I think it's Ryan Seacrest now. Obviously, classically, it's Casey Kasem, the legendary Casey Kasem. And I loved how seamlessly a host of that has to transition between two acts that are so different and pretend like he cares about either one of them.
You talk about the long distance dedication?
Well, there's the long distance dedication thing, but it's just also like, and that was number 38, Third Eye Blind, and number 37, Shakira. And it was just like, why are these people ever in a conversation together? But here we are, and I love it.
The original FM radio jockey voice.
Yeah.
Casey
The
Kasem.
original.
The original.
Oh, yeah.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Let's move on with our top 40 countdown, and let's go to number 24. Dan Rubenstein, I'm talking about those Auburn Tigers. Yeah.
So blessed. Oh, so blessed.
Last year, a huge disappointment
Fair.
for Auburn. I think I had them in my playoff. That did not work out. So much so that I think we are now at a point where Gus Malzahn, his proverbial seat, fair to say, a little lukewarm?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those schools that spends enough money and has expectations because of their recent success, both getting to a national championship game and winning a national championship, that it's not unreasonable, especially with also what they can do on the recruiting trail, to expect them to compete year in and year out in the Iron Bowl, which they have not done so much in all facets, and to threaten or get to double-digit wins in the regular season. And the trend right now isn't great.
No, it isn't. So last year, 6-6, they lose 4 of their final 5 SEC games. The offense, which of course they are noted for, was decidedly average, in part because they couldn't figure out their whole quarterback situation. That was a mess.
Right.
The run defense was also pretty lousy. It was definitely not what a lot of Auburn fans were hoping for.
Right.
This year, look, they've got talent. But I feel like they've also got more questions than answers.
So where do you want to start with the Tigers?
Let's start at quarterback.
Last year was a super duper disappointing year. Jeremy Johnson, everybody said, look at Gus Malzahn's track record with quarterbacks, going back to Cam Newton, what he did with Nick Marshall with no quarterback experience in college. We just assumed that Jeremy Johnson and the physical traits that he showed off would take the next step with more reps, and he was not all that good. And now there's a quarterback competition, 3-way competition. Maybe there's not even a competition. John Franklin III, the tiny guy who appears to be much more in the vein of Nick Marshall, albeit considerably smaller than Nick Marshall as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy Johnson's there. Sean White, who looked promising at times but battled a ton through injuries last season, is also there. And every single running back then decided to transfer.
Yeah. So it's in part the quarterback, right? Who's playing quarterback? Can they run more of a Malzahnian, for lack of better terms, offense? Because last year, I don't know what that identity was. And then beyond quarterback, can they get more production out of the running back position now that Jovan Robinson is off the team, right?
That is true. Okay. So you look at this Auburn schedule, and they open at Clemson. They have A&M early. Arkansas State is no slouch. They have LSU early. They go to Mississippi State. They have Arkansas. They go to Ole Miss. They go to Bama. They go to Georgia. Not great.
No.
Not all that fun. Big names, though, still up front. And a lot of people, when you watch the tape of last year's Iron Bowl, Will Muschamp had the front doing interesting things and competing against Alabama's very much NFL offensive line in ways that other teams were not able to. And that's in large part when you have players on the level of Montravius Adams, Carl Lawson, who battled the injury bug all season long. You have Carlton Thomas, who was good in the back. They were pretty decent at safety. They couldn't get to quarterbacks as much as they were able to collapse the pocket and play the run relatively okay at times. What a compliment. Relatively okay.
Decidedly average.
I have no idea what kind of depth that they have. They have no proven depth at receiver for whoever ends up playing quarterback. The linebackers behind that really intriguing defensive line are all pretty much green. And what kind of defense will they be running with now their third coordinator in 3 years? Now Kevin Steele, who comes over from LSU, after Ellis Johnson and Will Muschamp. So you hear all sorts of times, all sorts of talk from quarterbacks of like, oh, this is his fourth offensive coordinator in 4 years. And obviously that can be harrowing. But when you're asking defensive players to do 3 different things in 3 years, what their assignments are, what their groupings are, it runs into each other, and it can be tough to keep those things straight. So I'm curious to see how Auburn looks in terms of how organized they are on defense against a lot of really good offensive teams.
Yeah, we shouldn't gloss over some of the other stuff on offense. Can the wide receivers step up and make plays? Can the offensive line stay healthy, because they're actually kind of thin? There are a number of questions here at Auburn, and to my earlier point, there are more questions than answers. You mentioned the schedule. Opening week against Clemson, we'll get a pretty good look and see what Auburn's made of. Beyond that, you mentioned A&M and LSU and Arkansas and Ole Miss and Georgia and Alabama. Those are 7 games right there, and I don't think I feel good about any of them. I really don't. So 5-7, 6-6 for Auburn this year?
Auburn's over under 6.5.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go under there.
I don't hate going under. Who do you feel best about them beating that doesn't look like a win right now?
They're not beating Clemson.
Okay.
A&M, I think the defense will still be too difficult to crack for an offensive team that's probably early in the season finding its way. So I don't think they beat A&M. I would say no to LSU because LSU is loaded across the board. Arkansas has a chance for a win.
Yeah, I think going to Georgia might even be a chance for a win because we have no idea what their quarterback situation is going to look like.
Yeah, Arkansas is interesting to me. The Ole Miss game is interesting. I'm not nearly as high on Ole Miss this year as I think a lot of other people are. Ole Miss should beat Auburn this season. That game is in Ole Miss, but we'll talk more about that game when we get to Ole Miss in a week or two. And the Georgia one's interesting to me. Of those 7 games, though, Clemson, A&M, LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, I would say Arkansas is the one that stands out.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me about Ole Miss, and we will get to Ole Miss, is they've had NFL players starting both sides of the ball. Laquan Treadwell, Laramie Tunsil, Kimdiche from that great recruiting class. I don't think we're yet to see the depth being built at Ole Miss.
No.
So by Halloween, I mean, there's still a ton of talent. The receiving core is still going to be really nice, even without Laquanosaurus Rex. That to me is a possibility because there are still, even though I think we agree on liking Chad Kelly a lot at his best, it's yet to be seen what the turnover is going to look like with Ole Miss as a team people look at as a dark horse SEC West contender.
So I'm saying under 6.5.
I'm with you. Let's go under.
Let's go under.
I'd like to see it.
Let's go to number 23 in our countdown. Let's go to Pistol Pete, Dan.
Scariest mascot in college football.
Scariest mascot in college football. Oklahoma State.
Yep.
There is an awful lot to like about Oklahoma State this year.
Run me through it.
I think it starts with Mason Rudolph. Mike Yurcich, their offensive coordinator, he's been in a bit of a pickle the last couple years because he's tried this weird timeshare thing with Rudolph and J.W. Walsh. And look, it just epitomized that old adage about having 2 quarterbacks means you have none. It was really tough for them to identify with any kind of offense because when you had J.W. Walsh in, they ran the ball. When you had Mason Rudolph in, they threw the ball. Now, I feel it's a bit of addition by subtraction. Not that J.W. Walsh was a bad quarterback by any stretch. He was a fine college football player. He was on this program, by the way, way back when. I like J.W. Walsh, but now that he's out of the picture, I think that now forces the Cowboys to identify with more of a passing offense, and that will help them grow. Does that make sense?
It does.
I like Mason Rudolph. He's a big, strong-arm quarterback. I think he's got great targets out wide and Marcel Aitman and Jawan Seals, and of course our boy Junkyard Jim Washington.
I forgot about that.
Junkyard Jim. Yeah, they're going to produce. Those 2 guys are going to produce in this offense, and they've also got a guy in Stillwater this year. You may have heard the name Barry Sanders.
Sure.
It is not Barry Sanders Sr. It is Jr. who comes over from Stanford. He is not his dad. Make no mistake about it. Yeah, he's not his dad. He's got moves and he's got burst. And if they're able to get some big plays out of him or just the running game in general, that offense, quite frankly, is going to be a juggernaut. Big question for me is the defense.
Yeah.
That's the big question. We heard a lot about Glenn Spencer 3 years ago, and the last 2 years have been decidedly meh.
Good for moments, turning teams over at a good rate, like every other year.
Every other year. Now he loses Emmanuel Ogba. He loses Jimmy Bean on the ends. I don't know what kind of pass rush we got. There's enough experience here. I think the defense is solid enough to take a step forward. You got to have guys step up and make plays in big spots. The schedule's brutal, which I don't love. I don't love the fact that the toughest games are on the road. So I am optimistic about Oklahoma State. I love Mason Rudolph.
Excuse you, sir. Pitt goes to Stillwater.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. How dare I?
Yeah.
Their toughest conference games, I'll say, are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I am optimistic about this team. I am not ready to fully commit.
Yeah, and we'll know relatively quickly. Last year, we really didn't have an idea that until they got to TCU, which I think was into November. They had the weird win against Texas, a down Kansas State. They barely snuck by the down Kansas State. They had the weird game against West Virginia. But in terms of playing against ranked teams, they had the great win against TCU, and then they end their season with 3 losses. The sort of embarrassment against Ole Miss in the bowl game was not pretty against Oklahoma, and the sort of shootout against Baylor. So this year, we'll know pretty quickly. I think they have Baylor in September. Does that sound right to me?
Yeah, yes. It's an early game. Yeah.
Yeah, they have Baylor in September, week 4. They have Pitt in week 3. They have Texas after Baylor. The middle is sort of softer, but then they finish with Tech, TCU, and Oklahoma. On the road, Oklahoma. So schedule's not horrific, all things considered. But the fact that they go on the road to finish the year to TCU and to Oklahoma is not great. So they feel like, and I have the over-unders in front of me. What do they feel like to you?
I feel 9-3, 10-2.
Okay, so they're 8.5 is their over-under.
Oh, wow.
So you feel really good about the over for Oklahoma State?
Who are they losing to? Who
on this schedule?
On this schedule, if you're betting under 8.5, you're betting on losses against Pitt, Baylor, TCU, and Oklahoma. Those are the most obvious ones. Texas, depending on what kind of Texas team we have this year.
Yeah,
but that feels like a stretch to me. Feels like a stretch to me that they're going 0-4 against those teams.
Yeah. Especially since, nobody knows what to expect right now with Baylor. I'd be happy taking the over. I think they feel like a 9-3 team to me.
By the way, to the kind, gentle person who wrote to us and said, why do you like all these teams? You don't dislike any teams. I'm getting to the teams that I dislike personally, but we are talking about the top 40 here. We're not talking about the bottom 40. By and large, most of the teams that we're discussing are going to be bowl eligible. Mostly bowl teams.
There's more to like, especially top 40 teams, because how many teams are going to make bowls? 70 teams or something?
Yeah.
The top 40 teams are going to have more to like than to be skeptical of. And so, yes, there's more to like about Oklahoma State. There is a track record of them developing players on each side of the ball. And maybe we're taking the over on many more teams than we are taking the under, but we'll take the under on all the bad teams.
Go for it. I haven't gotten to the teams yet that I'm taking under on.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to those yet. Believe me, there are coming.
Okay.
All right. So I'm saying like 9-3, 10-2-ish Oklahoma State.
Yeah, 10-win team. Barry Sanders Jr. really couldn't crack much of a rotation, understandably so, with Christian McCaffrey in front of him in Palo Alto. But this is a team, it's a program that is in a good position. They've built depth, especially on offense, that nobody's going to be demonstrably better than them in the Big 12. I just don't see it.
All right. Let's move on. Let's go to number 22. Michigan State.
The State University of Michigan.
Michigan State. Preseason number 11 in the, I believe, Amway coaches poll that came out last week. Also of note, Dan, I'm fixing my notes here.
Oh, okay.
Did you see that Mark D'Antonio hung up on some Fox Sports radio hosts last week?
I did see it. I did not listen to the interview. Was there a suitable amount of disrespect for him to hang up?
It was a weird batch of questions.
Okay. How so?
Frankly, a weird bunch of questions that were asked by the hosts.
Okay.
So I don't know if that warrants a hang up or not, but clearly it left him feeling disrespected and feeling like he wanted to hang up. And I could not be prouder of our solid verballers who promptly went to Twitter and put up all the bat signals to let us know, because Dan, that's a point for you.
Yes. Felt so good. Felt so right. Michigan State is coming off of a game in which they scored how many points, Ty?
I believe we'd be talking about the number. It's a round number.
Are we disrespecting Michigan State right now?
No, we're illustrating the fact that they got boat raced 38-0 in the playoff game against Alabama.
0.0. Yes, they did. And you know what else Michigan State is? A really great program.
Yeah, they're good.
In terms of recent track record in the Big Ten, hard to top. Ohio State won a national championship, but the consistency of Michigan State has been exemplary, all things considered. So they have obviously running back experience. Their defensive line, even without love and miss Shalik Calhoun, should be very strong. They get Ed Davis back from his season-ending injury. They should look once again. Michigan State does a lot of things really well, and one of those things is develop guys in the secondary to an NFL caliber. I would imagine they're going to do it again. They have experience in the secondary. Big question to me is when you come off a game scoring 0.0 points, what is the offense going to look like in terms of playmakers and quarterback? Your thoughts?
Well, that's the big question because you lose Connor Cook. He's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You lose Aaron Burbridge and McGarrett King, the two top targets out wide. They're gone. You lose Jack Allen and Jack Conklin, two All-Americans along the offensive line.
Heisman Trophy nominee Jack Allen.
Those are tough losses to absorb, especially when you're subtracting them from an offense that, I'm sorry to say, and if this counts as disrespect, then so be it. But
the
offense already felt kind of average a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? So now you take those playmakers away, and I'm not sure how much confidence I have in this offense. Certainly not early for games like Notre Dame, Wisconsin, BYU. I think they'll be fine with Tyler O'Connor or whoever at quarterback. They'll be fine over the span of a full season. And certainly it helps to have a guy like LJ Scott in the backfield.
Yeah.
But damn, dude, that's a lot to lose and still expect this team to play at a really high level against what appears to be a sneaky difficult schedule. So I feel regression coming. I feel regression coming for Michigan State, despite the fact that D'Antonio has an incredible, 36-5 record, 2 Big Ten titles over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
This is a great program, a very perennially underrated program, but it is just so tough to absorb those losses. If he goes anything above like 9-3, he's coach of the year.
So their over-under in front of me says 7.5.
Yeah.
So Vegas, not huge fans. Vegas looking towards that regression as well. The schedule with having Michigan State and Wisconsin and Indiana's offense, at least on the road before playing a BYU team that looks to be, I think, significantly above average, although it's, new coaching staff, new system. Northwestern can't be overlooked. They won a ton of games last year. The fact that they basically hit everybody in the Big Ten and they play in the East, it's just, man, it feels like such a gauntlet. And 7.5 still feels kind of low. This Michigan State program has earned the benefit of the doubt. They're going to beat one of these teams. They're going to beat Notre Dame. They're going to beat Ohio State. They're going to beat Penn State, or they're going to beat Michigan. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know the fashion in which they'll do it, but they're just going to do it because why would you pick against that year in and year out and just continue doing it? They're going to beat a team that we think is better in August. That's just what's going to happen. So they'll go 9-3, and we will say, you know what? All things considered, 9-3 with what they lost and this schedule, it's a pretty good year. So I'm taking the over.
I wrote down 9-3 as well. So I think I'm with you. It's just the offense, really. Defense is going to be fine. You mentioned Shalik Calhoun.
I could see him going 10-2.
Yeah, I mean, you still got Malik McDowell, who's a force in the middle.
It's ridiculous.
Ed Davis is coming back from injury. They're okay at cornerback, maybe not as deep as they want to be, but they're loaded at safety. Defensively, they're going to be fine. They're going to stay in games, especially in a conference in the Big Ten, which I don't think is expected to be an offensive juggernaut this season. They're going to be fine, all things considered, but it's just those tougher games on the schedule. How are they going to shake out? I think 9-3. I think losses to the most obvious teams, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Okay, well, they have Michigan and Ohio State both at home.
Both at home.
Both, in East Lansing. So they should have lost to Michigan last year, pulled it out. They probably should have lost to Ohio State last year and pulled it out. This is a team that finishes close games in sometimes miraculous form, sometimes just strong holding their ground form. And I don't see obvious definite losses on this schedule.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not to like go into my Washington analysis, which by the way, I just did a radio spot on SB Nation Radio, formerly Yahoo Sports Radio. And the host said, I've been following you and I've been seeing how high you are on Washington. Roll it out for me. Roll that Washington love out for me. And I gave him, I thought, a very thoughtful answer. My thoughtful answer for Michigan State is they've earned the benefit of the doubt of a top tier program.
Fair enough. I'd like to move on and talk about number 21, but actually we have a more pressing matter to discuss.
Oh my God. Are you revealing your mysterious day job?
No.
Oh,
Let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
If at any point you leave your mysterious day job and you accept a new job, maybe a less private job,
okay,
will you reveal your former mysterious day job?
At that point, yes, that would be.
God, that feels good.
That would then be something I could do.
Breaking news. Love it. Continue with our terrific partner.
So I have an important question to discuss here.
Okay, I'm ready
Topic to discuss here with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you play fantasy football?
I do.
Are you any good at it?
No, very bad, because everybody's bad at it. Some people just consider themselves good at it because life is tough.
So listen, I was contacted a few months back by a gentleman by the name of David, who is a longtime listener of the show.
Okay.
He is currently a CPA. Now, I don't know how many CPAs you know, but CPAs are crazy good at Excel.
I would imagine that to be the case. Yeah.
Embarrassingly good. They put the rest of us to shame. I'm a tech geek. These guys are real good at Excel.
Mm-hmm.
He has crafted a draft tool that will help you. It will help you win your fantasy league. It's called FF Draft Prep, ffdraftprep.com.
Nice.
It will provide you. I've used the tool. It's intelligent. It's streamlined. It's an efficient way to help you draft your fantasy football team this year. It's the best you're going to find on the market. It's lightweight. It doesn't need you to download anything crazy that you need to install. It's just a really cool spreadsheet. It's easy. It accommodates every league setting imaginable, even trades and keepers. He's done all the work for you. It's taken him thousands of hours to bake all the goodness into this. He includes player tiers. You can change those if you're an experienced player and you want to modify it. You can include any data points you want, like rankings or projections, anything you want from your favorite site. FF Draft Prep, again, is what it's called. You're going to be organized. You're going to have all the key draft information summarized and at your fingertips. You'll even know how other teams are structuring their rosters and who they are likely to pick, Dan.
Ooh, I like that.
A little bit of insider info. Yeah, predictive is the key word here. They include everything you need to know here. Position scarcity algorithms to help you track your team and others. Also to help you figure out which position you should be going after. If you get caught off guard, they even have something called panic picks, which I am in a fantasy league called Panic Picks. It's something that happens frequently.
Yeah.
This really is the full deal. I've used it. I think it's awesome. The most intelligent, flexible, and streamlined tool on the market. Whether you're a beginner, a seasoned pro, FF Draft Prep gives you all the advantage that you need. Here's how you get it. Go to ffdraftprep.com. Use the promo code SOLID. They'll give you 20% off your first purchase. If you're not drafting with FF Draft Prep, you're doing it wrong. You're simply not drafting the right way. Again, help out a fellow verballer, a gentleman by the name of David, who's put a ton of his own hours and money into this thing. It's a good tool. I think people will like it. ffdraftprep.com. Your promo code is SOLID.
Nice. Easy.
Mississippi State, Dan.
Uh-oh.
Number 21. Should I say the post-Dak Prescott Mississippi State?
It is post-Dak. It is PD.
So look, we study these teams relentlessly. I don't dislike Mississippi State, but I can't help but fight the feeling that every other sentence I kept coming back to the fact that they lost Dak Prescott.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that it was Fred Ross and somebody else, the other Fred Brown was kicked off the team.
Yeah.
So we can't fully talk about the Fredjucation.
Right.
Although Although I feel like Fred Ross has earned being a one-man Fredjucation at this point. 1,000-yard receiver, Fredjucation.
Sure. How do you feel about Mississippi State as a whole?
Ty, it's a bit of a toss-up to me. I feel like I'm split 50-50 on things I like and things I'm terrified of in looking at Mississippi State. The schedule is not great.
No.
Schedule's not great at all. They go to BYU, they go to LSU, they go to Bama, to Ole Miss. They play all of their big important games pretty much away from Starkville. The Nick Fitzgerald thing is intriguing size-wise. I think he's one of 3 or 4 guys that are competing, but he has played the most snaps, and he's a big dude, has some dual abilities. But he's not playing behind an experienced line, does not have a running game option next to him that was all that successful last year for all the success they had a couple of years ago on the ground. They just couldn't find it last year outside of Dak. And we love Dak. Dak is a once-in-a-lifetime type talent for Mississippi State. They lose Manny Diaz, who did interesting things on defense for them. They bring in USC's linebackers coach, Peter Sermon. I love their defensive line. I like their front seven a whole lot. I even like their secondary a lot. As a whole, their defense gives everybody fits. It just does. There's so much talent. They've recruited well enough to hang with just about anybody. But man, I don't see how they move the ball consistently against those defenses. And I think there's a slight regression. Last year, what did they end up? They ended up
8-4. Yeah.
It would surprise me if they were better than 7-5 this season. I just think it can't happen again for the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Too many questions on offense. I agree with you. What I keep coming back to on the whole Dak Prescott thing. Dak Prescott was the kind of college football player who puts a team on his back and wills them either to victory or to a close loss.
Yeah.
When all else seems lost, a guy like Dak Prescott is able to take over and will his team into a position where they could potentially win.
Yeah.
Nick Fitzgerald, Nick Tiano, Damian Williams, Elijah Staley, like all those quarterback options could be that kind of guy. We have no idea at this point. They have not given us enough data that we can feel confident about any one of those guys being transformational. And so there are questions abound on offense, not just at quarterback, but with the running game and the O-line, as you mentioned. Defensively, they've got the talent, but Peter Sermon coming over from USC is installing a new system.
Right.
And so I feel like just on both sides of the ball, you're going to have this deal where you're either dealing with a new scheme or a new personnel grouping. And all that stuff takes time to figure out. And with a schedule like the one they've got before them, it comes at you pretty quick. Like if they don't get it figured out,
life comes at you pretty quick.
Yeah. If they don't get it figured out by LSU on September 17th, if the defense ain't working by then, Leo Fournette gonna do work, Dan. He gonna do work, and I don't care how much talent is on this defense. The rest of the schedule then just keeps coming at you, like you said, right?
Oh, absolutely. Although I will give you one name. In terms of coming at you and having data and having aggression, AJ Jefferson is so stupid good.
He's very
solid.
so
good. He had, 13, 14 tackles for loss last year. He is going to disrupt and cover, hopefully, Richie Brown is very good inside linebacker and should be within the system. That defense will cover and keep them in games. I don't know that there is a quarterback. The system is in place for them to come back if they're down 4 with 3.5 minutes left. But I am intrigued by this defense to the point where I could see them beating somebody they have no business beating.
Road game against LSU, September 17th is going to tell us a lot. But then we've got a home game against Auburn. Who knows? At BYU, because BYU's playing everyone this year, apparently.
Yep.
Home against A&M, at Bama, home against Arkansas, at Ole Miss. That's your 3 toughest conference games on the road. There's a chance they drop that game at BYU. I think like 6-6, 7-5.
7-5 is where I have them penciled in.
Yeah, 6-6, 7-5 to me feels right. What's the over/under?
6.5.
Yeah, wow, that's right on the screws.
So which team do they need to beat to get to 7.5?
They certainly need to beat Auburn.
Yeah.
I think they need to beat Arkansas. Both those games are very winnable, by the way.
That would give them, let's see, LSU, Auburn, BYU, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if they beat two of those teams that we have as their biggest games, Auburn and BYU, Auburn and Arkansas, and they lose to the other 5, they're going 7-5. That's what it appears. And are you scared of Kentucky at all? I think potentially there's reason to be.
They could be a bowl team, maybe.
They're on the road at Kentucky. I just don't see it.
No.
I don't know. Not now.
7-5 for me.
And then A&M is going to be tricky.
Yeah. I don't know.
I just got A&M fantasy things points.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Trevor Knight is dating Duck Dynasty person and sites are a-posting.
I marked it on the spreadsheet.
Yes.
All right. 7-5 for me. Let's move on.
Okay.
Number 20, if you can believe that. Number 20 in our metric, number 23 in the coaches poll metric, the Louisville Cardinals.
I feel like you're going to have a crush on this Louisville team.
Oh, boy.
Ooh. It's getting steamy on this end.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, my glasses are fogging up here. It is hard any preseason to look past the hype for some of these bandwagon teams. Like, the joke right now is Washington. Louisville falls into that category. It is, quite frankly, impossible not to buy into Louisville this season. They are so much a better team, as we saw in the latter half of last year with Lamar Jackson than without him. We didn't get a great look at him. That's the caveat, right? We only saw him in a few spots. You mentioned Trevor Knight, right? Let him be the cautionary tale about not getting too excited about a dual threat quarterback in a bowl game.
I feel like you're already past the point of no return, Ty.
Oh, I'm past it. But I'm just saying, I'm just laying it out there for people.
I'm trying to find some erotic music. Let me see if this is okay.
Yeah.
This is more.
I can play Lex Steele if you want me to play Lex Steele.
I'm trying to find something. Oh, here we go. Coming to the stage. Sorry.
How's that?
Oh,
Erotic.
I think you've gone full on erotic, Ty.
Borderline erotic.
All right, keep making me uncomfortable about Louisville.
I think it moves a little bit when I talk about Louisville. Not going to lie.
Thank you.
The entire team is back. They are more experienced. They're deeper than a year ago. Thank you. Offensive line could be a little deeper if you're splitting hairs, but you're killing me. It hurts to lose Sheldon Rankins along the defensive line, but all in all, mostly the same team from a year ago. They've got a ton of playmakers. Stop this, please. You're killing me. I'm trying to do a serious preview capsule, Dan. Ton of playmakers on both sides. Stop it. Stop it.
You said that you played borderline erotic. You said your glasses are fogging up. I'm just complimenting.
Here's what they need to do this year. They need to not make as many mistakes on offense.
Yeah.
We are all pretty excited about Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to be great, but he's still young. He's still improving. Petrino, make the jokes about Bobby Petrino if you want. Certainly we did, but he's a good coach. He's going to play to Lamar Jackson's strengths. I think Jackson just needs to respond and grow as a passer and not make stupid mistakes for his part.
Yes.
All right. He's got enough around him. As long as he doesn't shoot himself in the foot, I think he'll be fine. I think, as Bill Connolly noted, young quarterbacks, they tend to rely on their legs a little bit more than they should. We'll see how he does in this system if he's able to kind of get over that hump. Defensively, though, that's where I got the questions. They need to get better on third downs. You know about the old adage about Todd Grantham, right? Third and Grantham.
Yep.
They need to get better at getting opposing teams off the field in third down situations. Just do better.
Opposing teams off.
Thank you, Ben. Do better on third down. Do better against the pass. Things that I think go without saying. And then finally, you just got to play better against the better teams, right? They surged in the second half of the season last year. Everyone got excited about Louisville in the second half of last season, but they didn't play anyone good. They went 5-1 against BC, Wake, Syracuse, Kentucky, and UVA. Their only loss in that stretch last year was Pitt. This year they need to do better against the better teams.
Ty, I'm going to run you through the back half of their schedule in 2016, and boy, are you in for the same thing.
Go ahead.
NC State, Virginia, BC, Wake Forest, and Kentucky are 5 of the 6 teams they finished the season with. And of course, before Kentucky, the week before Thanksgiving on Thursday night, they traveled to Houston for what looks like a very difficult game against a very good Cougar team. But after that Clemson game to start October on the road in Clemson, Duke, NC State, Virginia, BC, Wake, and Kentucky, and Houston. It could be very much the same situation. So let me ask you this, Ty. They have Florida State and Clemson in non-consecutive weeks. They have Marshall between their home game against Florida State, which looks like it's a nooner, which is
nice.
It would have been nice to play at night against Florida State, but it's a nooner on national television. And they go to Clemson on October 1st. Give me a percentage. How confident are you in Louisville splitting those games, Florida State and on the road against Clemson?
20%.
Really? Okay. I'd put it a little higher, I think. 30-35.
Too many questions still with a young quarterback against a Florida State team that I think is going to be loaded to the gills.
True.
And Clemson, they certainly got Deshaun Watson, and the list goes on and on of guys that are playmakers on the Clemson side of things.
Now, Clemson the week before is on the road at Georgia Tech.
Body blow.
Even if you're right. Even if Georgia Tech isn't all that good, like they were kind of god awful last year.
They still beat you up.
They beat you up. They do.
Okay.
Week before Lamar Jackson. Let's see, who does Florida State has before? Who do they have before? Louisville, they have nobody. They have Charleston Southern.
20%.
Okay.
I'm sticking to 20%.
Okay, fair enough.
Where I'm going with this, though, for Louisville, if the motto for this season is beat the better teams, find a way to beat the better teams, the only 3 quote-unquote better teams, potentially better teams on that schedule are Florida State, Clemson, and Houston.
Okay.
I think they can beat Houston. I know they go to Houston, but they certainly got the firepower to do so. I would imagine Lamar Jackson has a monster game against Houston. I'm feeling 10-2.
Okay, so you have the over.
I'm trying not to get too excited, but I'm feeling 10-2 for Louisville.
Over-under's 9 games.
Yeah, I'm going over.
I don't know. I'm trying to. What did they go last year? What was their record last year?
Last year, 7-5. They started 0-3.
Yeah, 7-5, and they won their bowl game
against Auburn, Houston, and Clemson. They started 0-3.
Right, but they finished the season winning 5 of 6.
5 of 6. They looked great in the bowl game against A&M, although A&M was in full operation shutdown mode. So who knows what to glean from that game? But I like Louisville a lot. I'm not even going to try and conceal it. I'm feeling 10-2.
Okay, 10-2. I am going to take. I guess I'm going to push because it's not a half. It's 9. So I'm gonna go 9-3. I think they probably lose to Florida State and Clemson, and because it's on the road, because it's Thursday night, I think they probably lose to Houston as well. I think they're 9-3, but I think they're really good.
Dan's gonna push.
Dan's gonna push. Push it. Push it.
Number 19.
How do you say 19 in Spanish, Ty?
And how to say it in German.
Oh, come on.
19? 19?
Is that right?
In German, yeah.
19.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Florida Gators.
Yeah.
Florida.
You're just going to waste this defensive line, Florida? Just going to waste it? Great.
I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
What a year for Jim McElwain last year. Really, all things considered, wins 10 games after he evened out his suntan.
Oh, Will Grier was so good.
In that introductory press conference, he essentially won 10 games without an offense.
I disagree because I watched the Ole Miss game.
Beyond the Ole Miss game.
Yes, second half of the season, once the suspension of Will Grier happened, yes.
He wins all those games, virtually no offense. That should give you some confidence about what he should be able to do when he has a remotely capable offense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the offense looks like this year. I have faith in Jim McElwain that he can build something because he is an offensive-minded coach. Everywhere he's been, be it Alabama, Colorado State, wherever else, he's been pretty good at crafting an offense. I still don't know what it's going to look like this year because, we had people writing in and saying, well, what if Luke Del Rio throws for 3,000 yards? And that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. But what if he doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he's going to look like. So I'm excited to see what kind of offense he puts forth with some unnamed replacement. We'll just assume Luke Del Rio for Treon Harris.
What a weird
and
college career Luke Del Rio has had.
2-time transfer?
He's transferred twice, but he went to Bama as a walk-on. He had all sorts of offers coming out of high school and decided to just roll the dice and go to Bama as a walk-on. As you can imagine, it didn't work out. He went to Oregon State, didn't work out. And he's also competing with somebody who is transferring up. Grad transfer Austin Appleby, who I remember watching at the Elite 11 camp a few years ago. I mean, if Florida's offense is average, if they score 20 points a game and string together a few lengthy-ish drives, they'll win 10 games again.
I need to know more about offense. I need to see it. It helps to have Antonio Callaway. It help even more to have a running game.
Jordan Scarlett taking another step forward would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, it would help if Jordan Scarlett could get more bang for the buck than Kelvin Taylor did in that rushing attack, because Florida was just really bad. I want to say 114th nationally in terms of yards per carry. They just need more per carry on the ground. That's what Jim McElwain wants to do. He just hasn't been able to do that thus far. The offensive line is okay. It helps to have Martez Ivey. It helps to have some other experience up front. But man, I just offense is really, really the stumbling block for me, because defensively they're going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Defensively, I've got almost no questions. Great along the line, great in the secondary. Their defense is going to force opponents to be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and in fairness to their offense last year, and as it relates to passing the ball, running the ball, they started so many true freshmen along the line.
Yeah.
And they got beat up along the line, and they allowed a ton of sacks along the line, and they kicked off their star quarterback. They suspended him. Everything went wrong that could have gone wrong, basically. Now Treon Harris transfers, and I think every single Will Muschamp quarterback has now transferred away from Florida. Yeah. So Jim McElwain is fighting an uphill battle in terms of just what he's been dealt by the football gods. I think they'll be fine.
Here's the schedule, all right? The tough games on the schedule.
Also, I apologize for calling Will Muschamp a football god.
That's okay. We're all friends here, Dan.
Yes.
Here are the 5 games that we have noted on our spreadsheet, our trusty spreadsheet. At Tennessee.
Yep.
Earlier in the year. No doubt a tough game. Home against LSU. Certainly a tough game. You've got the cocktail party against Georgia. They're on the road in Fayetteville against Arkansas, which should have a pretty good defense this year. And then you close out the year on the road at Florida State.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, the only 2 games that I would put in the loss column are LSU and Florida State.
You're not putting Tennessee on the road?
I just don't trust Tennessee. I don't trust Tennessee at all. I think they'll lose to Tennessee on the road.
Presumptive SEC East favorite, Tennessee Volunteers.
Florida probably loses that game to Tennessee.
Okay.
But I am not going to put it definitively in the loss column quite yet.
Florida could very well lose to Vanderbilt. They play on the road at Vanderbilt, who is a very good defensive team. And if you remember last year, there was no offense in that game. And in a game with no offense, somebody's going to win. I don't know who's going to win. Somebody's going to win. That's how you should analyze this year's Florida Vanderbilt game as well. So feels like a toss-up to me, the fact that it's in Vanderbilt, the fact that it came down to basically the last possession last year. I have no idea what to expect of Florida, because they could be this year's Missouri. They could field an unbelievable defense. CeCe Jefferson is an NFL talent. Jalen Tabor is going to be taken in the top 10 next year in the NFL draft. There's talent all over that defense. Deep talent everywhere. Deep. But could they be Florida-Missouri? Maybe. Maybe. Florida-Missouri line.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. I think we're talking like 9-3.
Okay.
9-3, 8-4.
Let's see what the over-under is. The over-under for Florida this coming season is 7.5.
Ooh. Yeah, 8-4. Give me 8-4, Florida.
We like Jeff Collins, I think, as their defensive coordinator. Does interesting things. And Doug Nussmeier, had a nice stint at Bama. Didn't do much at Michigan in his 1 year there under Brady Hoke. And last year, The first half of the season was very promising. So I think they've got a good coaching staff.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the difference with that team between going 6-6 and 8-4 is a solid coaching staff. I think Randy Shannon's on that staff.
Yeah, why not?
Love it.
Bring them all in. I like Randy Shannon.
By the way, I should just to harken back to a previous preview. J.W. Walsh is a grad assistant at TCU now.
Yeah. Helping the enemy.
Yeah.
I like J.W. Walsh. He's the
That's
son
who
of a coach.
Aren't we all, Ty?
He's the son of a coach.
My dad coached Coach Pitch. So I technically am son of a coach.
Let's move on to a more modern subject, Dan, shall we?
Yes, I have thoughts.
Are you ready to upgrade your lifestyle and leave the boring behind?
Ty, I have no time for boring.
I'm not even talking about the Oregon offense. I'm talking about Touch of Modern, Dan.
Touch.
Get the best prices on the web at touchofmodern.com. All the latest trends across fashion and tech and decor. The best prices anywhere, Dan. Go there now, touchofmodern.com. They will connect you directly with top designers, timeless and unique products that tell a story. Each item hand-selected to grab your attention, to clasp your attention. And again, they've got great prices.
I love how passionate you are.
I'm very passionate.
Yeah, it's all sorts of things at all sorts of price points. It could just be adding wrinkles to your place, to your office, or something like that.
Wrinkles.
Whether it's artwork, furniture, things in the kitchen, clothing. Look at some nice shirts. I'm looking right now. They got some nice shirts. You need a shirt for a wedding. You need a shirt for some sort of event. Take a look at the shirts that they've got. Food. I'm seeing a good modern city print. I like that. I have got a couple of those actually in my apartment.
I need to decorate the studio with stuff.
Yeah.
I need to decorate the studio because at some point this year, I want to put a camera in here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could try that Facebook Live thing.
Mm-hmm.
And people can see how goofy I look when I record.
I want
makeshift
24
studio.
hours of a camera on in your apartment, in your townhouse.
Like the Truman Show?
That's what I want. I want the Timon Show.
Okay. Well, anyway, touchofmodern.com. It's a cool site. Loads of new sales literally launching every day at touchofmodern.com. The one website you can go to discover and improve your lifestyle in a single click. Right now, all of our listeners can get immediate access to these deals and more when they sign up at touchofmodern.com. That's touchofmodern.com. Dan, do it today because tomorrow it will be different. After all, that's how life rolls in the fast lane.
It simplifies and makes your life a little bit more cool to whatever extent you want.
Speaking of the fast lane. Number 18 is the Oregon Ducks, Dan.
Oh, I'm stretching because I got a lot to say.
I am just going to tee you up by saying the following.
Yeah.
The over-under for wins this season, if I am correct, is 8. I don't see a loss on the schedule, Dan. I'm thinking 15-0 this season for Oregon. I've examined it under a microscope.
Oregon,
I don't see a loss. I don't see a loss here. 15-0.
I see a couple losses.
All right. So what do you like? I kind of like the over, but go ahead.
Okay. So I like that there have been many funerals for the Oregon program. Very tasteful all around. There's a lot to like about Oregon. If Vernon Adams, who was in fall camp last year, there for a couple more days during the season and didn't break his hand, I think what we saw the ceiling of Vernon Adams as being very high, beating Stanford, beating USC, almost beat Michigan State with a broken hand, dropped 31 points on TCU in a half. It was clearly very high. Vernon Adams was a very good quarterback when healthy. Healthy or not, Oregon's defense was pretty atrocious for the first 2/3 of the season, and then it was just bad the other parts of the season. And now, so they hire Brady Hoke, who I would argue they did a good job buying low on. I definitely was not their first choice, but he restructures their defense to get them to average. He improved Michigan every year. He was there defensively as the head coach, not as a coordinator, mind you, but certainly Michigan took strides, recruited well under Brady Hoke defensively. I expect Oregon's defense to get better. Now, the big question going into the season, like most of these teams, replacing very good quarterbacks, is can the next guy do it? I imagine, and all indicators are that Dakota Prukop, the transfer from Montana State, will be taking over quarterback, and he was good, but certainly not Vernon Adams at the FCS level.
Right.
He is surrounded by an embarrassing amount of offensive skill talent. Royce Freeman is back and is an All-American caliber running back. At receiver, Darren Carrington could not really be guarded last year. Dwayne Stanford, Devin Allen, if he comes back to football, Charles Nelson, who played two ways last year and will be only playing offense this year. The line is in decent but not great shape just because of the experience level. They have a number of promising redshirt freshmen that I think are going to get a lot of time. They have an NFL caliber left tackle. He was the right tackle last year. But offensively, I'm not terribly worried because the quarterback, and this is a luxury that Oregon has, basically needs to complete decent passes, run the offense like a point guard, and not worry too much. Vernon Adams was much more than a point guard last year. He threw an exceptional deep ball and really stretched the field. If it is Prukop, he needs to just have a command of the offense down to his footwork, and he'll be great. And because that's all you really need, and you will be great by proxy of having great players around you. Defensively, they lost a lot along the defensive line. DeForest Buckner is a top 10 pick. The name to know along the defensive line is Henry Mondeau. Which is really, I think it's like, it looks like it's Mondo, but I think it's pronounced Mondeau, like a Deaux situation. They moved to a 4-3, which I think is probably better for their personnel. Not at all confident in the linebackers because it's Don Pelham. They were bad at linebacker last year. Nobody really jumps out to me at linebacker this year. Not particularly confident in the corners and safeties this year, but I figured they're going to have to take a step forward with a real coaching staff, a real coordinator, and just the experience that they have. I think they'll just be more in line and less confused about the defense. So Oregon is a 9-3, 10-2 team. They are nowhere near the shoo-in they used to be in the North, but they've beaten Stanford more recently than they've lost to Stanford. Their schedule is, we'll know how good they are. They have Nebraska on the road early. They go to Wazoo, which is kind of terrifying because Luke Falk, I believe is how you pronounce it, all Pac-12 quarterback last year. And when Wazoo is healthy offensively, they are very scary. They have Washington at home. They have Arizona State at home. They have Stanford at home. They go to the war zone that is Salt Lake City. That field is just a war zone. And they go to Cal, which I'm not all that worried about. And they go to USC. So they are most likely to lose at Wazoo and to Stanford. They have Washington at home. That feels at this point, because it was so close last year with the recovering Vernon Adams, that it will feel like Oregon has a slight edge. But again, I don't see a loss on that Washington schedule. So it's hard to say.
Right.
It's hard to say. They feel like a 10-2 team because they will be able to get the ball to huge playmakers. The defense will be much more organized with a good defensive mind. And they've recruited relatively well this last year, notwithstanding. They are deep in a number of positions. I think people have written off Oregon a little bit too much, but I understand with the quarterback situation, it's hard to know exactly what we're getting from this Duck team. Your thoughts?
I just wanted to peel back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got a box on our trusty spreadsheet for team weaknesses.
Yeah. Oh, please. We are an honest and truthful podcast. Reveal this.
You have listed here in your Oregon capsule. By the way, Oregon's preseason 22.
Yeah.
You've listed here in your Oregon capsule, and I quote, defense in general. So
as a weakness. Yeah.
As a weakness, not feeling great about Oregon's firepower on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned that Brady Hoke brings the 4-3 over from his previous stop. I think Oregon will be fine. I agree with you that people may be underselling Oregon a little much. Granted, they might not be the Oregon of old, but certainly they still have a ton of firepower here on offense, and that's going to help them if they can get the defense sorted out in any way, shape, or form. An interesting question was sent into our inbox by our good friend Michael, who helped put together that awesome Talking to Your Kids About Iowa video.
Oh, yeah. Love that guy.
But he was talking about, and we'll discuss this a little bit more over the next couple of weeks, he's talking about a proposition bet that he can make out in Vegas where you basically have to pick one team from each power conference. Win-loss total. Over-under. So you can't pick two teams from the Pac-12 or two teams from the SEC. You have to pick one team from each. It's like a parlay bet. In terms of the Pac-12, I love Oregon to go over 8 wins. I feel like Oregon over under 8, they've got enough firepower to just outscore some of the teams in their schedule. But it still feels like a 9-3 situation to me. I could see them losing to USC Could see them losing to Washington because Washington's got no losses on the schedule.
Don't spot a loss. Yeah.
Could see them losing to Stanford because Stanford has given them fits in the past, but can definitely see them going to Nebraska and winning. Can definitely see them outscoring Wazoo. I'm not too concerned about Cal or ASU, and I'm not all that concerned about Utah. So I think at worst they finish 8-4. 9-3 to me feels probable. 10-2 is certainly attainable.
Here's what happened the last 2 years against Utah with Oregon. Last year, they lost by like 7,000 points. The year before that, they lost like 14 people to season-ending injury. I always see bad things against Utah. I just always see Oregon bad things against Utah. USC is an unknown quantity to me, and I think we are yet to get to USC, and I imagine we will. The Wazoo game is really interesting to me, and I think that's the turning point on their schedule. If I remember correctly, I think they play Wazoo right before Washington.
Yeah.
So, listen, it's what do they play? Martin Stadium, Wazoo?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's smaller than most of the stadiums in the Pac-12. It's out in the middle of nowhere. So Wazoo has Oregon has Wazoo the week before they come back home and play Washington. And that feels like a linchpin game. I feel like they can be 4-0, and if they lose ugly or they lose in a weird way. Remember last year, Oregon, I looked this up earlier today. Oregon was the first Pac-12 team since the year 2000. They put up 400 yards rushing and lost. They were the first Pac-12, Pac-10 team to do that since 2000, to put up 400 yards in a losing effort rushing.
Wow.
And I think the only other team to do it last year on the FBS level was Wyoming. So there's a lot to like about average quarterback play against Wazoo, because that's all they needed to win that game. They didn't get it. But yes, if they lose to Washington State, come back and play a tough defensive team like Washington, they have Arizona State, USC, Stanford, and Utah consecutive weeks. I think the margin for error is a lot slimmer than it has been in previous years. I think you're right.
All right. So I feel pretty good about Oregon.
I'm taking the over as well.
I feel pretty good about Oregon. Michael,
Henry Mondu.
If you're listening, let's go with Oregon over 8. We'll talk about some of the other teams at some point in the near future. Obviously, TCU is one that I'm on record saying I love the over.
Mm-hmm.
Love the over on TCU. There are some others that we're going to get to here in the coming weeks. That brings us to our final team of this year preview.
What you got?
Woo Pig Suey.
Play the sound for me.
Which one do you want? I got a cup here.
Oh, that's so nice, Bird.
You want that one? You want borderline erotic?
I want both.
Borderline erotic.
Oh, God.
It's our second borderline erotic
There can
of
never
this
be
podcast. 2 and 1
enough.
is an awful lot. You can't go any higher than 9-3 on Arkansas.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
You can't do. I read one preview that kind of glossed over the schedule as, it's the SEC West and it's about what you expect. But man,
That's rough.
don't do that. Don't gloss over the schedule. It is brutal. At TCU, neutral site game in AT&T Stadium against A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Bama, Ole Miss, both at home, but still Bama and Ole Miss. At Auburn, Florida, LSU at home, at Mississippi State. That, my friends, is what you call a murderer's row for anybody, let alone a team with this many questions on offense.
And I'm not willing to, you talk about not glossing. What if Missouri has an average offense this year and the defense that we've come to expect these last few years? I'm not willing to gloss over that Missouri game.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. You've got a number of questions if you're an Arkansas fan. First and foremost, who on God's green earth is replacing Brandon Allen?
His brother.
It's going to be Austin Allen. I don't know if you're going to get the same Allen play from Austin as we did Brandon.
Right.
I don't know who the options are in the backfield, though. And that's a problem because a Brett Bielema offense is predicated in large part on the run.
A Brett Bielema offense.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you had Alex Collins. Actually, each of the last 3 years, you had Alex Collins, rushing for well over 1,000 yards. Last year, 271 carries, 20 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. Now it's some combination of Cody Walker, who got hurt, of Raleigh Williams, Damon Mitchell. Whatever formula they go with, it's going to be behind a line that loses 3 starters. And, line isn't something we typically worry about with a Brett Bielema offense. Maybe it's not something to worry about this year.
A Brett Bielema offense.
But it is something that I think is a cause for pause.
Cause for pause, which is also the name of our charity, benefiting pets from around the greater Allentown, Bethlehem, Northampton area.
It is worth noting all this, correct?
Yeah. No, it is definitely worth noting. I also think Arkansas at this point deserves the benefit of the doubt as for offensive line development in their run game. We are going to hopelessly miss Sebastian Tretola, who I believe threw a touchdown pass or a 2-point conversion pass, was a Heisman favorite last year. Didn't end up having a big Heisman moment. But yes, the fact that they are replacing so much in the offensive line is worrisome. But also the fact that Brandon Allen developed into a really nice SEC quarterback last year, despite apparently having itty-bitty hands.
He might have been the best quarterback in the SEC last year.
Yeah, in terms of throwing the ball, pure throw. I mean, Dak was probably the best overall player at quarterback. But yes, in terms of pure pocket presence and passing, a lot of P's right there. It was probably Brandon Allen. The offense by the end of the season was just terrific. It was amazing. The steps that they took in finishing drives, in becoming a balanced team, and challenging the best teams on both sides of the ball. Had heartbreaking losses, heartbreaking wins. It was a very dramatic season for Arkansas last year. And the big thing is, what can they do in September? They have TCU early on, and it's at TCU. It's at Amon G. Carter, but it's a TCU team that's also breaking in a new quarterback and has questions of their own. They also have the weight of Ty's romance behind TCU.
That's right.
Great. So we'll know pretty early on. And I don't know what the steps are. And maybe it's just Arkansas is built like a team that just survives early on, doesn't always win, but will grind teams down when they're more beat up later in the season. And there's something admirable about that. But it'd be a little bit more sustainable to figure things out earlier on in the season, figuring out especially offense early on. And if so, yes, Arkansas is 9-3 and taking a 2-game step forward and becomes a team once again that heavily leans into the November narrative in November. So I think we can be more confident that Arkansas will get things together early on in the season, but the fact that it's a new quarterback doesn't particularly help. So I'm going 8-4.
I think it's quite fitting that there is a siren going off behind you.
You hear that? Okay.
I hear the siren, and thank you. You couldn't have planned that out any better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling 5-7.
Wow.
I'm feeling 6-6 at best for the
Big
Hogs
time
in 2016. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to list the 8 games on our spreadsheet again.
Mm-hmm.
At TCU, a neutral site game against A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Bama, Ole Miss, Auburn, Florida, LSU, Mississippi State. I don't feel great about 7 of those games.
Okay. You know what the problem is, Ty? I don't remember who we picked in the Texas A&M Arkansas game when we previewed Texas A&M. So let's just say it looks tricky for both teams.
It's a toss-up game.
Yeah, it's a toss-up.
6-6 is my projection, my official projection for Arkansas.
Okay.
Not feeling good about the Hogs this year.
Which game in the back half of this schedule will shock the world? You think they'll beat LSU at home? I mean, they made a fool of them a couple years ago.
No, I don't.
Okay. So you think that's a change. They have Florida, a Florida team you're not particularly high on.
I mean, maybe.
At home. Ole Miss?
Maybe Ole Miss. Maybe Ole Miss.
Okay. That secondary wasn't great last year.
I'm not high on Ole
Kelly
Miss
might
at
have
all.
a field day. Okay.
I'm not high on Ole Miss at all this season. I'm selling big time.
Big time.
All
The
right.
romance is dead.
Would you like to recap our 8 teams here?
Oh my God, Ty. I got to load up. But yes, I would like to recap. Yeah. What song did I use? I used the Foo Fighters Learning to Fly.
Yeah.
Okay. Foo Fighters Learn Instrumental. Somebody asked me if I improv this, as if I could write down dumb words and pre-plan something like this. That would be
pretty much this entire show is improv. I don't.
Yeah.
Do you script anything? I don't.
I mean, we have this sheet in front of us.
We just have a spreadsheet. That's all.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Solid Verbal Sirius XM number 24 Auburn. What can they get out of a Gus Malzahn offense this year in the championship game a couple years ago? But is it time for the Tigers to move on the Plains, Oklahoma State? Mike Gundy's so crazy. We love that mullet, but are we going to love this offense this year? Mason Rudolph getting a lot of good press in the offseason, but Mike Gundy is almost 50 and still a man. I don't know what I see. Dave Davis Dental, once again, free molars for everybody. Michigan State coming in number 22. Just so much disrespect. I was talking to my colleagues over there at Fox Sports Radio, and they sensed the disrespect. They felt the disrespect. What are we going to see from this Michigan State team? Are they in the shadow of Jim Harbaugh? Number 21, Mississippi State. Dan Mullen getting it done down there in Stark Vegas. But I don't know. I don't see what they can do without Dak. I think they're on the way down. Louisville, Bobby Petrino. I'm just kidding there. That was stinky. Bobby Petrino, he knows how to play offense. He knows offense. What's he going to do over there in Louisville? A lot of folks very high on Lamar Jackson. Let me ask you this. Are you high on Lamar Jackson? Give us a call. 888-888-quadruple-8. Florida Gators. Tim Tebow is walking through that door, and I just don't know what to expect. Do they have a quarterback? But we love that nasty defense down there in Gainesville. The Oregon Ducks all flash with the uniforms, and we love making fun of all of the neon. But do they have a QB? Is it time to start selling on the Ducks? They bring in Brady Hoke. Can he make a difference? Was talking to Cheryl as we were walking our dogs, Huey, Dewey, and DeMarcus, and she was not that high on Oregon, goes to show you. And then we close out with Arkansas. Everybody loves Big Bert Bielema, but what can he do this year in September? That's the big question. Brandon Allen did a nice job for them last year, but they got that tough road grading SEC West schedule. Tough to see them getting through it unscathed. I don't see them winning 2 games. Give us a call, 888-888-quadruple-8 here on Sirius XM.
Very good, Dan.
Oh, that is exhausting, Ty.
Pat yourself on the back. Take a deep breath.
Oh, it feels good, Ty. It feels good to Sirius again.
So good.
Yeah, I also have some thanks.
Some thanks.
Some thanks in genuine sincerity. We did this last year. We're going to do it again this year. We could not be where we are. We could not do the show if it were not for our. I'm still wanting to go at the speed, Ty, of the series. Go to little thanks here coming out. I do have some people I'd like to thank. People that have been particularly loyal these past couple weeks. So Sean winning at life. Kevin Rosenquist, Andrew in Richmond, VA, Sean Robert Golding, Seth Brosy Morgan, Kin Kinsley, which I really hope is a real name, Alice Presley Bodner, Jalen Bundy, Katie Zirkle, Emily Hurst, and of course, Ty, what do? Oh, we ride with Brandon McKissick. Oh my gosh, do we ride with Brandon McKissick?
So here's what you guys need to do.
Explain to the people what those fine men and women did.
Those fine men and women, they share our link.
Mm-hmm.
They retweet our tweets.
Mm-hmm.
They
Facebook,
write
Twitter,
reviews on Facebook and iTunes and beyond. Anything out there at their disposal, they help share the verbal, help spread the word of the verbal. With the season coming upon us, it is now more important than ever to spread what we're doing to help get new people aboard and to grow the proverbial footprint of the verbal. So we appreciate each and every one of them doing their part to help share and spread the word about what we do.
888-888-quadruple-8.
Yeah.
Yes, we love each and every one of everybody that listens. But yes, those people, and we're going to thank more people next week and the week after that and all season long, because you should get a pat on your back. You should get a shout out. Why not?
Absolutely. So we appreciate everyone's encouragement, everyone's support here as we forge ahead. We've got 2 more previews to do before we actually preview some real live college football action in preparation for week 1. That's about 3 weeks away. We're excited. We're pumped. We're getting there. Next week, we've got our tier 2 teams. Yes, we will talk about Notre Dame. Yes, we will talk about some other headlining teams that could potentially make the playoffs. In the meantime, though, do go to the Facebook.com page at facebook.com/solidverbal. Check us out on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on iTunes at itunes.com/solidverbal, and at our website, either out on sbnation.com or at solidverbal.com. Dan, good show.
That's all I have. No,
Good
great
show.
show. I learned something very important, Ty, in doing this show.
Yes.
I learned that Josh Harvey Clemens is still a college football player.
Still a college football player.
When I saw his name, I wasn't sure if it was Josh Harvey Clemens or Josh Harvey Clemens II or Josh Harvey Clemens. So it's good to know that he still has some eligibility left. Good for him.
On that note, for that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrandt, thanks again for tuning in. Please support our sponsors, FF Draft Prep and Touch of Modern. We will talk to all you all in one short week. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.